Oh, moment. Sending stone. Ah. Oh, I can't wait to see what god is this. Hello?
A few moments later.
Oh, I gotta love it when the sending stone is nothing but a scam call. Thank God for magic and bullshit. That said, it didn't take much searching of the village to find Anivia, my missing minion. I decided to have a word with her. Sadly, I also found the fat Horgus Grurm also sitting with her, apparently having struck up a conversation with the only other human he's found in... Well, I suspect hours, but honestly, time kind of moves weird when you don't have a sun to look at. This tragedy may not have happened if you'd spent less time surveilling honest citizens and more time tracking the real spies and demon worshippers. Oh, brilliant idea. How come I didn't think of that? Now, if only the cultists would tell us they were cultists. That wouldn't have to waste time investigating honest citizens who decide to go all cloak and dagger right under our noses. A smile tugged at my lips at this, and I decided that Anivia, indeed, should the time come, would in fact be the last of my minions to die, for I truly did enjoy her rather poignant way of putting things. Though they sat there, and honestly, upon this, I was satisfied Anivia was fine, albeit probably not enjoying the conversation very much. Though a moment of compassion did strike me, as I did favor this woman just a hair, and I did ask, "So, hey, Anivia, how's the leg? You know, the one that was trapped under the rock that dumb paladin here couldn't move?" She scrunched up her nose at that. "Well, it hasn't fallen off yet, so that's good. They bandaged me up all nice and smeared some stinking stuff on the wound, so, hey, it looks like I'm going to live. They said wait today and I'll be right as rain, so I'm waiting." This satisfied me, and I nodded and bid her adieu. "Well, go on then, don't dilly-dally. The sooner we get out of here, the likelier we ought to find some people still alive up there." I was going to sigh. And I'm not going to lie, I was debating about plunging a dagger in the fat noble's chest. Anivia cocked a glance at me and a wry little smile and just simply said, "Take care of yourself." And thankfully that was enough to put my rather homicidal, intrusive thought at ease. It was at this moment we decided we were going to find this hut. And then I heard about wares from another mongrel and decided to see what she had. The answer was nothing of true value, sadly. A couple of scrolls, some armor. She did have a bastard sword, though, which I did take some keen interest in. I'm not entirely sure why, though it did not stop me from purchasing it. As well as selling off some of my more mundane garbage that we found in our merry little adventure so far. A nice quiet woman. I rather enjoyed her. I may actually consider keeping around after I bury the rest of her lot. At last, though, we have found the hut, which apparently was covered in scales, hides, wings of some unfortunate creature, or several unfortunate creatures. Though, I assumed that the stench inside should be less than that of it outside, and we rested. Shortly after I had woken, Windwug had caught my attention. "It's time. We're heading out now. Land won't get in our way." She breathed in deeply through her nose, eyes narrowing in concentration like she's trying to taste the air to detect even the faintest sense. Finally, she gave an approving nod. "Were you watching me sleep? Not gonna lie, kinda creepy." She gave a snort and turned away. "Think I like looking at uplanders? I've got better things to do. Don't think you're special." I was a little hurt by that. I personally thought I was a very special boy, just like my mother always told me, before I sacrificed her heart to my goddess. And then realized I don't care about gods. Therefore, basically admitting that I killed my own mother out of no reason other than I was bored. So when you say Lamb won't get our way, where is he?
On the way to his death, if he decided to go it alone. Or maybe he's in a hole somewhere crying about how lonely he is. I don't care either way.
Wendell was slowly gaining more and more of my respect as she talked down to her rather heroic, kin, I suppose would be the word. Though kin is quite a strange word, as all these creatures tend to develop very strange atrocities on their body, completely different from one another. Alright, well, are you sure this maze is the only way to the surface? There's no other way to the surface? It's literally through this, what's the word I'm looking for? Death trap. Right, it's through this death trap we get to the surface. This was the first time I heard Wendell hiss. And she hissed at me. And the only thing that kept me from trying to blast her with an icy spell was the fact that more than likely I wouldn't even hit her. She was quite agile, and that was a terrible fucking shot.
Do I look like someone who doesn't know what she's talking about? Yes, I'm sure. There might be other ways, but not anywhere near here. Never made it all the way through the maze, but every time I smelled the change in the air. Anyone who can't has no business in being there. As good as dead. Don't believe me? You can wait for another guide to show up, but no one apart from me will get you to where you need to go.
I just gave a meager shrug at that. It made sense. I briefly thought about asking about Horgus and Aniva, but quite frankly, we would be better to clear the path before coming back to get them. Or, in all honesty, I didn't care enough. We could have just left them, even though I did favor Anivia a little bit, just because she made me laugh. Fine, alright, let's go. It's time to get the hell out of here anyway. I'm tired of the smell, I'm tired of the sights, Yeah, I'm just tired, honestly. I just woke up and I'm tired. Go figure.
Wendell gave a nod at this. Right. And another thing. You could have chosen not to listen to me, but you did. That means you have real strength in you. A strong person can take the truth, even if they don't like it. And the truth was on my side. I want to say...
She averted her eyes. A very human and bashful move, I noticed.
Thank you. You saved the tribe from a stupid mistake. They're alive now because of you.
I blinked blankly at this creature before me as she literally thanked me for saving her tribe by simply telling a small little lie. If only she knew what plans were already forming about how I deal with her and her kin down here once I'm out of the hellhole. But thankfully, my thoughts were broken as she spoke up again.
Now let's get to the boats. We'll get there fastest by water.
I didn't have the heart to tell her I wasn't much of a sailor. But then again, I was also under the impression it honestly probably wouldn't have mattered if I did anyway. And thus we struck out on the what the fuck? Please tell me that's not actually our boat. That's not even our raft. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that's gonna work. My faith in this plan was faltering moment by moment. So instead, I strode forward and prayed. Prayed I had not made what was potentially the worst mistake of my life. I suspected my true mistake would come far later in my life. And God willing, I would not be surrounded by paladins when it happened. The raft somehow did manage to bear us all the way to what I was assuming our destination, though I wasn't one for dock and caves personally, so I tended to find myself quite lost. Though we quickly found a great sign of civilization. A cobblestone wall formed and a door. Wendell spoke up.
We need to crawl through this crack in the doorway, and then we're in. Trust me, I've done this plenty of times.
The more she said trust me, the less I did in fact trust her. Out of curiosity, though, I did notice something. A path of sorts, leading in the other direction away from the door. And me wanting to sate my curiosity, immediately found a fucking monitor lizard and we murdered the shit out of it. I was quite pleased by my accuracy this day. I couldn't figure out why, for the life of me, I couldn't hit anything before. We happily skinned the creature and moved on, as my curiosity continued to take us a little bit deeper away from the door and our way out.
This is more like it.
Though whenever someone spoke up against it, I simply reminded them, you never know what's going to be around the corner, and frankly, last time we investigated something randomly, we found a glowing angel sword, and, well, who knows what you can find around the next one. Maybe a demonic scythe? But having found a dead end, we did turn and return to the door and, in fact, squeeze through as Windwick suggested. And what I found was definitely not at all what I was expecting from what I considered to be a death trap called a shield maze. It actually almost looked like the entry room to some noble's very fine castle, maybe a king's even. Statues and alcoves, and grails in front of rather demonic-looking monikers.
I hope you appreciate this.
Monikers are Baphomet, the demon lord, lord of minotaurs of all things, and the lord of the labyrinth. Suddenly, the term shield maze bore a lot more fruit than I was expecting. And we entered. Cautiously. The room before us in shambles, and a cultist was in sight. We wasted little time in murdering the poor bastard.
Okay.
And with Camellia having somehow managed to blow a man apart, to where he was naught but a ribcage and a pile of blood with nothing but a rapier. Honestly, my affection for her grew 3 sizes this day, and then we proceeded to loot the bodies, as adventurers are wont to do. Finding little of value other than a couple of weapons none of us could use, but we did find a chest. And Camellia was skilled. Sadly, not worth the effort, as the only thing we fucking found was a rock. And I was mad again. Windwick found another chest and, hoping to find something better, opened it, and in fact did find better. She found actual currency and potions. Good potions. Sadly, the way forward was summarily blocked by a collapsed roof of some sort, I'm assuming, or something else horrifying happened here. As they were about to open another door, I quickly perused another chest, found some minor valuables, and we continued on. And we finally found the first trap of this death trap, a pile of bones marking where some poor fool didn't quite catch the notice. Camellia, however, was quick to find the switch to disable the trap.
I am helpful, am I not?
And Sela, thankfully, was quick to loot through the bones and find elemental essence. Useful in brewing potions or scribing scrolls, I noted. We continued our exploration. Not entirely sure where the hell out even was. Out of the corner of my eye, I did find an old map and a scroll of heroism in a bookshelf. And another cultist who was soon to not be among the living. Though he put up far more of a fight than his previous 3 brothers. In fact, he took quite a bit to actually take down. Jesus, he was not going out like a bitch at all. And as usual, we looted the room, as one is.
This one was beyond me.
Sadly, none of us being too awfully skilled or knowledgeable in religion, all we found were old books scattered about the shelves. Unfortunate. You never know what kind of secrets places like these might have. After all, this is the home of cultists who worship a minotaur, apparently. The god of Minotaur, Baphomet, no less. But I digress. We continued our search.
Something.
Sela calling out like a goddamn moron that she saw a chest any of us could have fucking spotted. I sighed and looted its meager contents, enjoying the artwork on the wall, which stood out very odd to me for some reason. But we continued on, and we found the armory, I assumed. And a corpse that was not aware was a corpse yet. And this cultist was far better than his previous peers we had murdered, and actually stood quite a fair chance. But fell all the same, and we looted the room, as one does when adventuring an unknown place full of people that are trying to kill you. Or at least that's the standard where I come from. I don't know what normal people do in situations like this. This is what I do. I rob people blind as I go through their home. Ah. It was at that moment I noticed a switch on the side of the wall. More than likely leading to a trap somewhere we haven't discovered yet, but as a precaution I had Camellia quickly disarm the damn thing.
I hope you appreciate this.
As she said those words, I nodded. Yes, I did in fact appreciate her. I also appreciated it when she decided to go on a murder rampage. Though I was confused to see mongrels fighting against us suddenly. And I will admit, I took some glee in killing the poor creatures. Though as they finally fell, Windowig stopped and looked at their corpses, her lips curling, and then turned away.
Well, are we going or what?
I blinked in minor confusion. I thought her entire point of bringing us here was to save her kin. And she did happen to forget to acknowledge one other circumstance we encountered pretty quickly when we got here. You know, Wendy, you told me the maze was here. You told me it was the way to the surface. You never told me it was full of fucking cultists, though. Yeah, you planned on letting me in on that at some point, or it was just gonna be a happy accident they were here?
I didn't because there weren't any. Looks like they got here the same way you did. They fell from the damn surface.
I blinked at that and tilted my head. You know, the maze doesn't look like the mysterious place you made it out to be, in all honesty. It looks kind of more like a literal den of cultists to me. And kind of well established. I mean, for God's sakes, even most of the torches and shit are lit. Even the candles are lit. Like, people have been here. And have been here for some time.
The maze has always been full of traps and subterranean monsters, and our guts cultists are well. I'm sorry, I'm not exactly human. I have like 5 different animals in my being. It's hard to speak sometimes. Let me try that again. And now it's got cultists as well. Better. What does it matter to you anyway? She snapped, studying me with narrowed eyes. I promise to lead you to the surface, and that's what I'm doing. You do not belong here,
she said as she turned away, rather briskly. My favor with this creature was quickly falling. I felt her time was coming to an end sooner or later. And we continued to search the den of cultists. Quickly finding the goddamn barracks of all things, which we quickly looted and stole everything that wasn't nailed down.
Am I not?
Because this is what adventurers do. Oh, and of course murder the inhabitants. Briskly, Jesus. Needless to say, they were quickly not standing too awful much of a chance against us and my meager, though very capable forces. And as always, it's always nice to get some new weapons and new armor. In fact, we had quite the trove. I decided to check what we had and see if I had anything to swap out that was better. Sadly, other than a rather hefty crossbow, I found myself more disappointed than not. Though I did admire the rather crude, though macabre statue that was in the room. You can always appreciate those of faith. Before they died.
Now,
Knowing
what
full
is
well,
that?
the god will probably just be oh so disappointed in them. One of us happened to spot a strange lever that upon turning, opened a secret door,
What do we have here?
which led into a secret storeroom. So many secrets in this shield maze. Though, not much of worth, save for a cold iron longsword that may come in handy. After all, cold iron has some very interesting effects on some people. Amelia, apparently deciding to take another quick glance around as she remained in the doorway, managed to spy a trap.
I'll watch your back.
That we thankfully somehow did not fucking set off as we passed right by it.
I am helpful, am I not?
Indeed, she was helpful, and I was thankful for it. It was at this point we found the door on the other end of the rubble, and I decided to turn back around and make sure we thoroughly looted this place. After all, I may not come back here. I wanted to make sure anything of value was in my pocket. Again, as any adventurer would. After all, I need to finance my grand schemes.
Save the last one for me.
We happened to find a wizard and a champion. A gnome and a man. I'm not sure what they were doing, but given the height of the gnome, I can only assume very lewd things. And then we proceeded to murder the shit out of them. For their indecency. Should these cultists have actually came at us in great numbers, we would have died rather quickly, as they were able to hold their own very effectively against us, to my chagrin. We did find a diary that was almost new. And it was basically just a cultist bitching about being a cultist. At this point I wondered, what was the point of even becoming a cultist if all you're going to do is complain about it? We looted the room and continued to move on, exploring more and more of this ever so fun place.
I hope you appreciate this.
And we are finding some worthwhile things. A first aid kit is nothing to scoff at. There was evidence of people rather enjoying watching someone suffer and be tortured. As old blood stained the ground amongst very comfortable looking furniture. Part of me is sad I didn't get to witness this myself. I also do enjoy a good torture session.
I am helpful, am I not?
The screams lulled me to sleep. I began to worry as we trekked deeper and deeper, but I wasn't entirely sure which way was in and which way was out, which way was progress and which way would take us away from this horrible place. We stepped into another section of the shield maze and quickly found it flooded, and yet even more cultists that needed to die horribly, because that's what cultists do best, is die horribly. Though as they fell, I realized they were also mongrels, and I almost felt bad. Almost.
I found something.
I am helpful, am I not?
Though deeper and deeper we trekked, again I was losing faith that this wasn't the way to more items and loot, but
Do not waver.
what would ultimately possibly be the way out in the future. As all I kept finding was more water and yet even more doors. And a strange new cultist, the Hand of Hostilia. Finally armed and...
Excellent. We will make good use of them.
At glancing at Sela, the paladin of my minions, I found she was
I will help where I can.
variably wounded. Though she also had the power to simply heal herself and quickly remedied the problem. No idea why she just doesn't do that automatically.
Frostmourne hungers.
At long last, we seem to have found a training room of sorts. A locked door that hopefully didn't have another one behind it. And 2 more mongrels waiting us. I put them at rest, so they need not feel the corruption of these cultists anymore, and bathe in the glory that is death.
Your pain is my pleasure.
A sane man might have worried about Camelia's statements as she murdered the mongrel and literally bursted him like a balloon full of blood. Me personally, I got quite the giggle out of it. I was finding her more and more attractive by the moment. After all, I have great plans and ambitions.
The door's got a strong lock on it. You'll break every lockpick you have, and it still won't budge. Believe me, I've tried.
One Duerg said as we approached the next door.
That was before I found the key to it and took a few valuables for myself. Take a look inside. You might find something you can use.
The prospect did intrigue me,
The Lich King has given me true power.
and it's gladdened me that I chose her over Lan and sided with her ultimately,
I hope you appreciate this.
as if it wasn't for her being here, who knows, I might have not gotten through the door, I might not have ended up with generic crap.
Speak, fool.
But there was a nice scale mail that I was rather happy to see. I sadly could not wear it, but my party who could. The Crypt Raider's armor. I felt it was rather appropriate for Camellia. That said, we have explored all we could in this direction, save for another lone door that I suspected would not lead anywhere of import, at least I hoped it didn't. And instead we found a fucking water elemental. What is that doing here?
The spirits demand your blood.
One eternity later.
Ah. And what felt like a menagerie of bullshit, time travel, and,
You can trust me.
well, cheese. Lots and lots of cheese, good god. We fed the elemental and saw what we got out of a really, really painful endeavor.
No, what is that?
I was expecting disappointment overall. Though we did find a ring that had my eye. And it was actually a fairly good ring that helped me with some of my cold spells. A great boon. And while waterlogged and disheveled, we could very clearly see this kitchen has seen a lot of goddamn use. Though, it seems this is where our exploration ends, and now we must do our diligent duty and actually, well, clear this maze of sorts. I couldn't wait to see what awaited us at the end of this maze. Surely it must be something truly worthwhile, being so full of cultists and elementals and other such myriads of bullshit. Though we quickly discovered
Glory to the Scourge.
not just another mongrel, but the reason water was flowing is because the earthquake apparently had destroyed an aqueduct that ended up flooding in here. And needless to say, finding just a simple cultist to kill was satisfying. A cultist is no elemental after all. An elemental is truly dangerous. You might end up dying 3 or 4 times if you're not careful. Though I was quickly becoming confused as we seem to have taken a wrong turn, and I keep finding myself in more unfamiliar places.
Save the last one for me.
And then watch as my minions fall
So this is how it feels.
to a mongrel brute who was very tenacious and was refusing to take a goddamn hit. Though his defenses were quickly wearing down, though he was beating the other living shit out of all of us. I had to be mindful of my resources and the resources of my minions. After all, I wasn't sure how long we were going to be down here. And spells and potions are worth their weight in goddamn gold in places like these.
The Lich King has given me true power.
Though I wouldn't have really batted an eye or cared, honestly, all that much if some of my minions happen to die in service to me. After all, that is their lot in life. To serve me and to die. Who am I to question where and when? Well, safer, maybe wishing to simply decide the fate for myself. And then I found a ritual pool filled with fresh blood. Whose blood? Who knows? I'm just sad I missed the fun. Well, I could have used the bath, I suppose. And then Sela, being bullheaded as always, charged right into the room and triggered a trap, warranting some caution in the future. We stopped and glanced into the next room. We found what appeared to be a ritual circle of some kind and a drenched demon in the corner. I was beginning to suspect this truly was progress and decided to maybe turn around and investigate what the other doors had hidden. After all, we were running a little low on potions, at least I suspected we were.
I was a fool to trust in the light.
And I wasn't one to... Huh. My thoughts stopped as the maze suddenly took a turn and looked vastly different from what we have been seeing so far.
What's that?
There were traps here as well. I was wondering how deeply I was going to dive into this wonderful, wonderful place that frankly none of us had any right to even be in.